Okay, welcome everybody. Wednesday night meditation learning center. I think we're actually going into our 10th year of doing the Wednesday night meditation, which is really quite a milestone. So it's been a lot of fun. And the reason I bring that up is because not because of the historical fact that it's been 10 years, but because of the consistency of, to have something weekly on a consistent basis, but also the consistency of the practice, period, just the consistency of doing it. And actually the consistency of doing anything, and how important it can be if we really want to make it a part of our lives. And so that kind of brings up one of my favorite subjects, and that's the subconscious mind, and how the subconscious mind plays a role in meditation, but also in the consistency and what that actually means. And it's shown with consistent practice, whether it's practice of meditation, practicing sports, music, language, anything like that, that when we do it consistently and we do it regularly, that there's very little conscious thought going into it. And David Engelman is a neuroscience scientist that has been doing a lot of studies in this area. One of them was he took a 10-year-old boy that was it sounds silly, but he was a champion cup stacker. And he would take these cups, and they do this blindfolded, and he could stack these cups, faster than anybody. And these people would challenge him. David Eagleman challenged this young boy to see who could stack these cups the best. And the little boy just blew him out of the water. And they said the reason he can do that is because of the practice and the consistency of the practice. But interestingly, they hooked them both up to an EEG, an electroencephalograph, to measure the neuron activity, while they were doing it. And the boy that was, this champion cup stacker wasn't really hardly firing anything within the brain, within the mind. And David Eagleman was all consciousness, all this conscious thought going into every move he was doing, and so the consciousness was actually getting in the way of his performance. And he likened that to somebody trying to hit a baseball, where this baseball, in the pro teams, the baseball is going about 100 miles an hour. And from here to there, you just have a few milliseconds to decide if you're going to swing or how you're going to hit that ball. And they say that with the practice, of baseball, trying to hit that ball, the consciousness will just only get in the way. It's just the sometimes we call it flow or whatever, but it's the ability to just react in a very precise way, each time that happens. It's from the consistent practice. And we can look at that with with everything that we do. So if we want to really make a change in our lives, for the better, one sure way of doing it is just doing it a little bit each day. There are other ways to have change in our lives. We can go visit a doctor and have a doctor's appointment and come out, get a little bit of bad news, like we found a spot on your lung or something like that, and completely change a person's life. Or on the other hand, we can be looking at our bank statements going, oh no, this is horrible. And then all of a sudden, we we get news that Uncle Harry died, the rich Uncle Harry, and he left us, a couple $1 million. And that can be a life-changing thing just like that as well. But usually the slow, consistent, continuous drips are the things that make the lasting change for us. Like the dripping of a faucet. If we, it doesn't seem like it's going to amount to anything, but actually a dripping faucet can wreck an entire home if we're not there. It can cause all sorts of damage in a home. But if we would plug up a sink and notice if we notice a drip and plug up the sink and go do something and come back, we realize that it accumulates. And it's the same way with a very simple practice like meditation, where we even if we practice 20 minutes a day, it would make an incredible difference in our lives. And I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, because I have a feeling that a lot of us, and I know a lot of you practice every day and are very, very conscious of the consistency of the practice. But it's worth, putting out there, not only for meditation, but for all sorts of things. On Saturday mornings, we're studying the Eightfold Path. I think we're going into week 3. We're doing one step each week. And who's all in that? 4 of you, okay. And the Eightfold Path is these different areas that we should be looking at, we should be working with, should be studying. The first one's skillful understanding, then we go to skillful thinking. This week we're looking at skillful speech, as far as the morality aspect of it. And I asked everybody to be very, very conscious of every word that comes out of their mouth. And just for this 1 week, but we should practice that all the time, And it's something that if we are very, very conscious of our words just for like a half an hour a day, that would bleed into our everyday life. So that the consistency of a simple practice like that. And there's all sorts of things that we can do, to make our lives more in sync, with who we want to be. After skillful speech, we get into skillful action, which is the actions of the body and the mind, and actions of morality, such as the precepts, and refrain from harming, refrain from stealing, and all these different things. And these are actually things that we have to practice, to a certain extent, in order for us to understand them. Skillful livelihood, skillful livelihood is the work that we do and how we make our living. This is something that we do if we have, if we're all working still. We do this about 8 hours a day, and that's pretty consistent stuff, So, is our work moral? Is it something that we enjoy? We should enjoy. Is it inspiring for us? It should be inspiring. Skillful effort. We're applying effort here. We're coming here. We're showing up. The other areas are skillful mindfulness and skillful concentration, the actual areas of the meditation practice that will be doing soon. But to do all these things in a very consistent manner, it's like, I guess we can kind of liken it to, the holidays. Like Christmas comes around once a year, and we really feel like we want to give a gift, to everybody, but it's kind of like we're not really good at it because we only do it once a year. What if we did it every day? We'd really be good at giving. And there's certain things that we can give. We can give people just sending out loving thoughts to people. We can do that on a consistent basis. We can say kind words to people on a consistent basis. And we can certainly take care of ourselves on a consistent basis, show loving kindness towards ourselves and compassion towards ourselves. And that can actually be a part of our meditation practice as well. And generally, one of the best ways to do that, to incorporate loving kindness, compassion for ourselves, is just to put it in with our daily meditation and do it consistently. And we realize that we have to love ourselves first before we can actually send that love out to other people, which is very, very important for our happiness and the happiness of others. So I think what we'll do for our meditation here, I'll guide us through a little bit of we'll start with just a little bit of a loving kindness meditation, and then I'll guide us through some other aspects of meditation, for maybe for some of the viewers, or if they're new to meditation, how to come back to the breath, what we're using, the meditation object, the breath, how to use it. And then, of course, it'll be a long period of silence, in our meditation practice. And then afterwards, I would like to have everybody say just a little bit about what was going on in their mind that they remember in their meditation practice. Maybe 10-minute increments, we did our metta, then we did some guiding, and then we went into the silence, and maybe what was going on in the mind during the silence. Because we do this periodically, with this group on Wednesday nights, because it heightens our awareness of what is actually going on within the mind. When we actually think and realize that we have to kind of report in, after the meditation, we are a little bit more aware of what is happening with the mind. Because we all know that we can sit here for 20 minutes easy and, be shopping in the mind, or, be on vacation, or, revisiting that discussion we had with the boss at work, for 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes, without even realizing it. And I mean, if that happens, it happens. We don't want to beat ourselves up and say that we're a bad meditator because we're not focused or concentrated, but we want to be aware of what's going on. Want to be aware of where the mind is going, and just be a little bit strict with the mind taking off like that. So, and then all of this is, really a practice in consistency. I'm a firm believer, and I think a lot of you are too, that consistency is really king when it comes to meditation. It's doing it on an everyday basis, and just being aware of what that is happening with the mind. So, if everybody would like to get comfortable. Allow the eyes to close. Try to keep the posture nice and balanced, back straight, chin lifted. And just bring your attention to the heart center, that area in the chest where sometimes we can feel the breathing in that area, but we can also feel the beating of the heart, and more importantly, like the warming of that area. I think we're all familiar with how it feels to have a heavy heart when we're having difficulties or when we hear bad news or sad news. But we can also have kind of a warming of the heart when we feel like we are actually sharing love or experiencing love with another person. We can also experience that warmth in the heart when we are applying love towards ourselves. It's a practice that we can do, and it's a practice that is very much a part of the Buddhist tradition. And it's a practice that is very important because, as mentioned, we do have to love ourselves before we can actually express that love for others. It starts at home, just like everything else. And think of the kind things that you've done for other people the last few days. Some of the kind words, and not only the words, but some of the kind thoughts that you've had towards others when you saw them, when you ran into them, when you're shopping or just at work or whatever you might have been doing. Think of the last time you paid somebody a compliment. And think of the last time you actually did a gesture for somebody, did something that to try to make their day a little bit better or try to make them happier in some way. And possibly that gesture is something that was incognito, where the person didn't even realize that it was you that did it. And now think of the last time that you actually paid loving attention towards yourself. The last time you did something for yourself that you really felt that it was really a part of, what you should be doing and how you should be treating yourself. Something a little bit different than just the everyday bathing and the everyday taking care of yourself, but actually did something for yourself. Like right now, you brought your body here and you made yourself comfortable and you're meditating and you're actually really doing something incredibly kind for yourself by being here and meditating this evening. Clearing the mind, becoming more present than you normally would if you weren't meditating, and experiencing peace of mind at a higher degree, higher level. And so in essence, you're understanding yourself much better than if you weren't meditating. Higher awareness, self-awareness. And so we can go throughout our days and pay the love and respect to others, and the best way we can probably do that for ourselves is to have a consistent practice in meditation and have a consistent practice in the teachings and morality. Watch our words and our actions of body, speech, and mind. and notice those times in life that we really do appreciate ourselves in our life and what it stands for, and all of our friends, family. And those moments that we're inspired, to be alive. And what this should do is bring an opening of the heart, and then that's that warming of the heart center that I had mentioned. Just see if it's there. Think of the quality thing that you're doing, meditating at this moment. See if there's a warming of the heart. And then take that warming, that loving kindness, compassion, and send it out to, first of all, the people closest to you, your partner, your friends, family. People that are easy to care for and easy to love. And then send it out further, out to people that you've known in the past but probably haven't thought about or seen for quite a while. Just wishing them loving kindness in whatever they're doing, whatever activity they're experiencing or doing at this time. Send loving kindness out to people we are not so familiar with, people that we might meet or run into in the store, or people that we are familiar with just by seeing, but we don't know their name, we don't know what they do. We feel that they might be like us, but we don't know anything about them. Send loving kindness and compassion to those people. And then send loving kindness out to the people that we disagreed with in the past, people that are hard for us to get along with probably, people that we have disagreed with, people that we've even called enemies. Because the more love that we can send out to everyone, the better it is for us. And it sounds greedy and selfish, but again, we have to have that warm opening of the heart and that true unconditioned love for ourselves, if we're going to be able to send that out and share that with others. And we can send love and compassion out to all of the beings in the world, not just human beings, but also animal beings and all the beings beyond, even beyond this world. And when we feel that love and compassion, our concentration becomes much easier. Bring our attention to the breath. Notice how the breath feels at this moment. Using the breath as our meditation object. We can try finding the middle of the breath, or the beginning or the end. And the breath is just simply a tool for us to focus on, to bring us into this presence. come into the present moment and we realize that this is our home, this is who we are. But use the breath as your foundation. And when the mind does wander off, just acknowledge where it went to and then come back to the breath. This might happen 100 times and it really doesn't matter. It's a part of the practice. But just feel as if that breath is a friend and it's something that you're coming back to, something you're coming home to again and again. Because it's simply pointing out the presence, this stillness that is your true nature. you. Cold? Does everybody have a copy of this? Loving kindness? The part of the theme tonight, I guess, loving kindness, which is this is another. The monks would often chant this, and of course, this is the English version of what the monks would chant in Pali, but this is actually very similar to what a copy of what the Buddha gave some monks that were when he was alive. Monks were meditating in the forest, and they felt that there was some danger in the forest, so they came and asked the Buddha what to do, and he gave them this sutra for them to chant. And so that's what we're using it. We use it as a closure for our meditation here. So we'll recite this together. To attain a state of peace, one skilled in goodness should be able, upright, perfectly upright, gentle in speech, kind, and free from pride, contented, easily satisfied, with limited duties and unburdened livelihood, controlled in senses, discreet, reserved, and not blindly attached to groups. One should not commit the slightest wrong that the wise might censor, wishing, may there be happiness and security, may all beings be happy. Whatever beings there are, whether feeble or strong, tall or short, large, medium or small, microscopic or mammoth, leaving none, seen or unseen, living near or far away, born or to be born, may all beings be happy. Let one not deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither in anger nor in ill will should one wish another harm. Just as a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so, one should cultivate a limitless concern for all living beings. Extend loving kindness throughout the world without limitation, above, below, and across, free of obstruction, enmity, or hostility. Whether standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, one should diligently sustain this mindfulness. This is called sublime living. Without holding narrow views, but being endowed with broad vision and avoiding attachment to sense desires, the virtuous are not born again into this world. May each one of us and all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to us. May no difficulties come to us. May we all meet with spiritual and worldly success. And may we have the patience, the courage, and the understanding to meet and overcome any problems or difficulties that we might face in life. So I hope everybody had a nice meditation. And we did some metta, and then we looked at the breath, and then we had some silence. And then I asked everybody to kind of pay attention, to be aware of what happened with their mind, particularly in that time of silence, and to kind of report in. So did everybody do that? Everybody realize that they're going to have to report in? Did you remember that while you're meditating? The reporting in. This is the scariest part of the evening because everybody has to report in. Let's start with Mark.
Not to put you on the spot.
First of all, are any questions? Are there any questions from anybody as far as what we're doing? Okay. What was your...
Nothing really, just random thoughts.
Just thinking, or did
Not
you...
really, just I'd have a random thought and then I'd get back to
To the breath?
to the breath, and then I'd have another random thought.
Do you use the breath all the time in your meditation, or
Pretty much, yeah. Sometimes I'll do counting.
counting the breath?
Yeah, I'll count.
So otherwise, do you feel? How do you use the breath? Do you feel it? Like,
Not really.
what do you do?
I
I'm just curious.
breathe in, breathe out, or I do
Breathe in, breathe out.
or I do peace, let go, peace, let go.
Kind of like a mantra,
Yeah.
or something. Okay. I was just curious.
I do more of a, I guess, a concentration type meditation. Count from 1 up to 10, and then down to
Yeah.
1, and up to 9, down.
Yeah. Yeah, that is more of a concentration type of practice. Yeah.
And sometimes I'll just do in 1, out 2, in 3, 4, and do it fast.
Okay. Good. Terry?
Yeah, just random. You know, for me, it's almost always planning. Except there was a couple of Carol Burnett popped up. We were watching some silly old clips last night, and had a little inner chuckle over that. But what I do notice is that the random thought, most of the time, does not get to take hold and grow into. Well, I started thinking about my shoes, and that ended up being, you know, the thought went from this to this to this, and it was eventually my grandmother. Like, it doesn't seem to, it doesn't catch on as much as it used to. So it's nice that I'm going to have the random thoughts. I definitely don't sit there and not think, but I have the random thoughts, and I'm usually able to bring it back pretty easily without going to the major thread.
Good. And you use the breath as your primary object. Are you still doing that counting thing that you're doing before
I
we
do it
see the
sometimes.
numbers?
Sometimes, yep. If I
Okay.
really find that I don't want to, if I want to really minimize those random thoughts, I'll do that, the visualizing of the number, rather than the actual saying it. And I'll do that if I really want to have that concentration. I don't always really want that, though, sometimes.
Yeah, she's talking about visualizing the number out there rather than actually, rather than actually saying it,
Saying it in
or
your head. There's a difference between closing your eyes and seeing the number 1 and actually saying the number 1. It's very subtle, but it takes more focus to, your mind can walk away more easily if you're actually just counting. I can count and I can still be thinking 3 other layers of things.
yeah.
If I'm visualizing it, not so much. So it's a deeper it's a deeper concentration for me.
Okay, good, thank you. Beverly?
I just practiced with you for years, and that I just, kind of go into my space.
What's your space?
Huh?
What's your space?
It's just quietness and, being aware of me.
Okay. Are you using the breath to do that? Okay.
Mhm.
Are you feeling the breath, or using it in some other way?
I
or-
don't feel I must use it just knowing it's there,
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's a habit, the breath.
It's a good habit.
Good habit, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
I'll keep it.
Rita?
The first part of the meditation, the metta that you guided us through was really good. I haven't done that in a while, so that was really good. There was a feeling of warmth here, which was really enjoyable.
So it worked. Yeah. Yeah.
So there was this kind of opening and it felt really, really good. So usually I use my breath to stay, but I kind of stayed in that area,
Mhm.
just to focus. I've done that before many years ago.
Yeah,
I
that's a good
haven't done
practice,
that
yeah.
in Just concentrate on the heart center. It felt really good. I did stray, of course, random thoughts came in, but I kept going back to the heart center, which I haven't done in a while. So that's a really,
Yeah.
I want to keep.
Yeah, I forget to mention that to people, that that's a, it's a viable meditation object, especially if you feel that warming glow or whatever you want to,
Yeah, it really
from the
feels like there
metta.
was some kind of light in there or something. It felt like a glow in there. It was really
Yeah. It's like opening up that chakra or something.
Yeah. And I've tried that with the third eye chakra as well, like right there. And that's a little harder practice because you're kind of closing your eyes and then you're gazing upward to the middle. sometimes you feel like a light there or something, but it's a harder one. I'm not really good at it, but the chakra, this chakra thing. For hearts, I've done it, heart chakra before many years ago, but I haven't done it in a long time, so that's
Mhm.
good. Now I want to go back and do that in my days.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Trevor. Yeah, I certainly had some random thoughts, but one thing that was pretty consistent for thinking is thoughts of my father and his health challenges, and talking to others about his health challenges. Yeah, my father was diagnosed with leukemia about 4 months ago, so
Mm.
it's been on my mind a lot lately.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have when we get into, I guess we could almost say trouble is when it's habitual, going back to the same thing again and again and again. And then we know that it's something that's really bothering us in a way. Sometimes it can be projects though too. Like we have a project that we're excited about, and we can't keep our mind off it. We just keep going back there and going back there. It's kind of a more happier habitual thought pattern, but yeah, those are oftentimes the things that we want to really look out for. I mean, if there's just random thoughts, that's pretty common, but if it keeps going back to the same thing, we want to sometimes pay some special attention as to why. I mean, just be aware of that's happening, and then we can find various ways to kind of ward off those triggers too, like coming back to a specific area of the breath or something like that. Very subtle things to do. So, thank you.
Tonight, was really good. I've never done that heart mantra before. That was really good. The focusing on that really was really good. So I add that as well into my practice too. I like that.
Good.
So today, besides that, getting back to that, I had random thoughts here and there. Got back to the heart, the chakra, following that flow. Thinking of the flow of the blood through the from the heart was good. Today it was more all about the heart system. And yeah, it was a good meditation. I liked it. Normally I usually use the breath as my meditation object. So tonight that was new and it worked really well.
Oh, great. Super. Thanks.
So this is all new to me, so
That's
I
fine.
think I was just trying to stay awake because it's been a rough month with work and I haven't been sleeping well. So I'm like, I know if I like totally zone out, I'll just plop over it.
Yeah.
But other than that, just random thoughts of my daughter, just because she was homesick from school.
Aw.
But she's doing good. I gave her some Manuka honey.
Nice.
She just perked up. So
Great.
I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, if you were lying down, you probably would have fallen asleep. That kind of feeling, huh? Yeah. That's why we had a conversation the other day about trying to keep people from leaning against the wall, because they can actually, fall asleep when they're leaning against the wall. Sometimes almost fall asleep in a chair too if you get too comfortable. That's why I always sit on a cushion with my back, because before, I don't usually have too much trouble with drowsiness or anything, but generally, a person would wake up before they start tipping. Or there's some pretty good videos on YouTube about that. Young monks and stuff. Yeah, he's just
So funny.
like, they keep the camera right on him, and he's just, it's just funny. But I mean, it's not funny, but it's funny. So.
So I was just observing some of the bodily sensations that were going on, and I was feeling like pain, and trying not to get too attached to it, and to see it for what it was, and
Mhm.
kind of sit there with what was going on, you know, in my legs and stuff. And, you know, I remember, you know, just along my journey, I remember a teacher just saying, look, as long as it won't harm the body, you know, it's okay to sit there, you know, with that pain, you know, and so I've been taking the class, and one of the things that I read today, I'm way behind in my work, but I'm getting there, and was in the part of right thinking, to not have that that desire, you know, for pleasant things or things that weren't pleasant. And then I was just observing, you know, my mind as I was passing judgment on the bodily sensations, the thoughts that were coming, and just trying to kind of step back and observe that, and be in that kind of meta position to see as it rises and falls. And then I was kind of getting lost in all that stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is real conceptual, and, you know, like, where's my breath? And I kind of went back to my breath, and kind of like what John was talking about, you know, I've been doing this on and off for over 20 years, and I know the practice, you know, and you know, I know how to get myself, you know, back to the place where I'm just watching that breath and letting go of the thoughts and the story about all of it, you know. And one of the things that in right thinking, that section, he was talking about this selflessness, you know, and that grasping that I have for that self, for that identity. You know, it's not so much the material stuff anymore for me. You know, I've had it, I've lost it, I've had it, I've lost it, I've had it, I've lost it. You know, I get it about material stuff. You know, it comes and it goes. For me at least. But that sense of identity and my opinions and my beliefs, you know, and how hard they are at certain points in my life, or even during the course of the day. I could watch that rise and fall, you know. And just it's so because of the reading, you know, my mind has gone, you know, to this place, like to try to absorb, and really every line that guy writes, it's about as thick as it gets. There isn't one sentence that you can edit out of it, and, you know, and so you know, I'm just kind of digesting and processing that, and then it came here. But, you know, the bottom line is get back to the breath. Get back to the breath. And, you know, once I'm back to the breath, then I can have some sense, a degree of concentration and mindfulness. You know, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, good. Well, thanks, Joe. Yeah, Joe's talking about the book, 8 Mindful Steps to Happiness. It's something that we're working on Saturday mornings, and Bhante Gudaratna, or Bhante G, is the author of that book, and he's a very good author, you know, very good teacher. And so if you're wondering what he's talking about as far as what he's working with, that's it. Yeah. Thanks, Joe. Yeah.
I think I had was thinking the residue of the metta was with me, and I've been trying to keep that part of my practice when I do meditate. And I've been focusing on concentration for myself and mind training. So I was, I think I was pretty successful in just concentrating on the breath. I've been to Vipassana, the 10-day retreat,
Mm.
and they spend 3 days on that.
Mhm.
And I really felt like that was very effective. I felt like it helps me to be clear and to have aha moments.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to encourage that by really taking my meditation seriously and really do an hour at the morning, hour at night, because I feel like I want to make changes in myself.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, I'm human. I get random thoughts, but I'm catching them a lot better. And, you know, I get distracted with noises or things like that, but I can come back to it. And I do body scan. I feel like that's a big part of what I need to practice so that, you know, when I'm living my life,
Yeah.
I'm paying attention to the body sensations and trying to align all these things.
Yeah, great. I was going to comment on something. I don't remember what it was, but some area you touched on sparked something. Oh, the insight or the aha moment. You know, most people, you know, a lot of people refer those aha moments as insight, and they come from the silence. You know, that when we become present, you know, we use the breath, we become present, and there's that stillness there, and that's when the insight arises. It's nothing that we can really create. If we do create it, it's just a bunch of thoughts going. I mean, if we try to create it, we're just thinking, you know, trying to be creative. And really, the insight is something that comes up as the truth for us or for everybody. The Buddha, you know, used his insights for teaching, and we can do the same thing. We teach ourselves through our insights. And that's why they call it insight meditation. These things arise for us. Vipassana is insight meditation. Yeah. And insight comes from the subconscious, you know, where every other thing that's worthwhile comes from too, it seems, is the subconscious mind. Yeah. Just coming, boom. Sir?
Kind of new to this also. Just trying to figure it out and learn.
Yeah.
Trying to, you know, just you're thinking in my head, you know, ask for some insight into certain issues and things that are going on in my life.
Sure. Yeah.
Just kind of focused on that.
Yeah, we want to be sure. I mean, I was just listening to as the group speaks. We want to be sure to not let the mind have its way so much. You know, we don't want to be too strict with ourselves, but we don't want to just always allow the mind to wander off or to think or to try to be creative, or in other words, go into the past or the future. And we want to kind of catch it when it wants to lean towards that. So anytime that we're trying to be creative, it's probably, our meditation is probably not the time to be doing that, because that's not meditation. That happens. I mean, it happens to me a lot, you know. And then also the thinking about stuff that has already happened, or thinking about the past. We want to try to catch it when the mind starts having an inkling going towards that past, you know, try to catch it and then bring it back gently, you know. Of course, it's going to happen. We're going to be thinking about the past. We're going to be thinking about the future. And as a lot of you have heard me say, that the negative aspects of that are the fear for the future and the anger from the past, or the ill will from the past. Desire can be into the future. I can desire, I want this in the future, or it could be desire for, something that we've already experienced. Desire for food, for that spicy meatball I had last week, or whatever it might be. So these desires can come from both the future and the past. Anger is always from the past. Fear is always from the future. It seems like they're happening in the present moment, but in that present moment, if we are truly in that presence, there is no fear, there's no anger, there's no desire. And so what that does is points to us that we are creating all of that ourselves. In essence, we could say that we're creating our own suffering. And with that, it's 31 minutes after 8, which means we are done. You can leave. And so I want to thank everybody for coming. And some of you I'll see on Saturday. And if you want to repeat of this, all of these are on YouTube. So check them out on YouTube if you get a chance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.